I'm not a morning person.
Dedicated to being passionate about it.
Bodybuilders have become more lazy.
People have always thought I lift fake weights.
Iran and the United States.
You take responsibility for that.
How did you learn about, because bodybuilding is pretty complex, there's a lot of moving parts, right? How did you learn about this? Is it reading a lot of material? Is it getting information from other coaches? How does one become proficient in that?
Well, a few things. One of the things that I really try to convey now in my coaching, now that I'm getting a little bit older, I'm not old by any means, but I try to help young guys not go through all the same mistakes that I made, whether that's overtraining, under-eating, doing too much cardio, not resting enough. One of the biggest changes that I made within 2015 was I went to more of a Dorian / Dante Trudel DC style approach, and that drastically changed my ability to progress, because that was the first time within my bodybuilding that I truly rested. I had set rest days. It wasn't something that was negotiable. It wasn't like, well, I woke up and I felt good, so I went and trained. But previous to that, I was training 6 to 7 days a week for weeks on end without any rest. And ultimately, what young guys need to understand is that you're not growing in the gym. You're growing when you're out of the gym. Now, the driver to that growth is what happens in the gym, but the real recovery and the ability to recover past a greater extent is going to happen when you're out of the gym. So I had some coaches when I was younger that truly helped me. Jason Theobald, Scooby Prep, he was a great coach for me. I worked with Alberto Nunez of 3DMJ. He was also, what Alberto really taught me was how to connect with individuals on a personal level. And again, like as I talked about earlier, I think that's such an important role within the physique community. And then I started in 2013 with a mentorship role with Neil Hill. So he was kind of helping me, like coaching me within bodybuilding, but more than anything, what I value about Neil was the time that he took with me to have phone conversations with me, where he just taught me about the good of coaching, the bad of coaching, what to be aware of. And it wasn't so much the X's and O's. It was more so just overall just mindset, people looking to take advantage of you, being aware of that. So I've had a great relationship with Neil now for several years. Neil's helped me a ton. Neil and I did prep for 2 shows in 2016. I prepped for the Flex Lewis Classic that year, which I think in terms of my final look on stage, that was the best I've ever looked. And we peaked for that show together in person, and that was an incredible opportunity that I had there. And then we also peaked for USA's that year. So Neil's had an incredible role in my development as a coach. But really what I think happens is, and this is where coaches need to be okay with saying, I don't know, and not knowing, but being able to have the education background to know why you don't know. So for example, like if you peak an athlete and you miss the mark, there's nothing wrong with that as long as 1, that you admit it, and 2, you know why you missed the mark so you don't do it again. And I think that's what separates a good coach from a bad coach. If you're constantly peaking people wrong and it's just a lot of guesswork and you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, that to me is not okay. If you miss the mark but you know why you missed the mark and then you can adjust that for the next time, that to me is a sign of a good coach. So a lot, again, one of the things that people ask me all the time, Matt, I'm young, I want to build up my coaching. How do you build your brand? Well, for one, I think building your brand is kind of nonsense. I think you need to be able to convey your passion to people, and then people are going to be connected to your passion. And then from that, your brand is going to grow, quote unquote, your brand. But if you're trying to drive something just financially, you're in it for the wrong reasons. And I don't think coaching is what you should be after in the first place. But the biggest thing for me, outside of the individuals that I mentioned earlier, is just having experience, growing in my experience. I take notes of everything. That's one of the things that you can ask my athletes. Like even when I'm with them in person at a show, every time I make a change for them, I go back and I document it, and then I send it to them, and I document it, and I send it to them. Even like Sean, like this is we started working together in 2016, and I don't even remember at this point. I might have had 13 opportunities to peak him. Every single time I peak him, I go back and I look at the previous notes, not to replicate it, but to see, okay, we did this really well. This could have been done better. Things like that. Like I'm always going back and reviewing with certain athletes what I did, what I could have done better. what I feel like I nailed really well, and then I just kind of facilitate that process for the next peak going forward.
Do you feel like because Big Ramy won the Olympia in 2020, now it's got people have to
Nick
kind of,
out?
yeah, now people are
100%.
gonna be like, what was that?
I said, do I feel like that Big Ramy winning helped Nick out? And I said, yes, 100%.
That's why I was gonna ask you. Do you think it's gonna be a size game now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. We're missing Sean Roden on stage, and Sean to me is still one of the best Olympias I've seen in recent memory. So that's the wild card. I spoke to Sean this weekend. I'm a huge fan of Sean. I'm a fan of his look. I would love to see him back this year. So right now, with the current title holder, I do think that if you're going to have that man in the middle, which he will go in the middle next year, to some extent, you have to compare apples to apples. But then if Sean is there and Sean replicates 2018, that's an incredible physique. And then you also have Brandon Curry. Let's not count him out either. So like Brandon and Sean more so replicate each other. And then you have like the Ramy, and then you have the Ian Valliere, you have the Nick. And I'm not saying Nick's going to be in the first call out. That's not what I'm saying. But like it's a comparable physique to look at.